For those who said this NBA Finals between the Indiana Pacers and the Oklahoma City Thunder would be a dud, I just want to thank you so much for joining this program, because the Pacers last night in Game 6 did what they have done time and time again this postseason. They saw the odds and they beat them. Pacers, 108-91 win in Game 6 over the Oklahoma City Thunder in Gainbridge Fieldhouse to force a Game 7. Now, this game was an interesting one. The way it started, if you just saw the start, you'd be shocked on how the game actually finished. It was a microcosm of Indiana's season, in a way. The Pacers this year lost 15 of their first 25 games. In this playoffs, they've been down 15 or more 5 times and come back to win basketball games. And now they're just one win from an NBA championship. Let's dive into this game. Pacers missed their first 8 shots of the game. They were down 10-2 really before you could even blink watching this basketball game. But from the middle of that first quarter on, page was flipped. And the Pacers offense sort of got going fast. It was 28-25 at the end of the first quarter. And as you got up to refill your drink and get some more popcorn, the Pacers outscored the Thunder 68-32 over the next 24 minutes. An unreal run from the Pacers to close out the first half. And you could tell the nails were on the coffin, but they just weren't knocked in yet. That's when the game flipped on its head. The run at the end of the first half was the knockout punch, the buzzer beaters, the dunks, the fandom. They had it going crazy. Gainbridge Fieldhouse was on level 110 at that point in the game. That was the knockout punch. The Thunder, after not scoring the first 5 minutes of the third quarter, that was like the punch after the knockdown that the ref calls it on. That's how this game felt. It was Pacers beat the Thunder down so much they just weren't able to recover. And an Indiana team that hasn't led by more than 10 points in the first 5 games of this series was up 28 points in the middle of the third quarter. The offense was fluid. It felt like in high school when you run the 3-man and the 5-man weave. That's how the Pacers offense felt kind of all night. Like, they was so smooth. It was poetic. It was smart. The ball movement was there. They were doing it. It seemed like the way that they had practiced. The box score was an exhibit of this as well. 6 guys on the Pacers roster scoring in double figures. The role players were infamous in Game 6 for Indiana. There was no more minutes in this game more impactful than those from TJ McConnell. He was instant action in every minute, every second that he played in Game 6. If you know TJ McConnell, you know he's known for that spark, and he brought it full force last night. And for me, it starts with backcourt steals. I'm a guy who's watched TJ McConnell from his days at Arizona to Philadelphia and now to Indiana. He's exactly what Indiana wanted, and he's exactly what Indiana needs. He's Indiana in a basketball player. Whenever he gets those backcourt steals, when the other team's throwing the ball in, maybe after one of his buckets or a turnover, that's what ignites Indiana. The crowd reacts exactly to what he does. It's like when he scores, there's 2 people that scored, because the Gainbridge Fieldhouse fans, every Sirs fan in yellow, on their feet, loud, and TJ McConnell also added some points to the box score too. He implemented so much pace. When Tyrese Haliburton comes out of the games, you think the reaction for the Thunder would be almost a little bit of a step back, right? It can't be as fast as Tyrese Haliburton, right? Wrong. TJ McConnell implements pace like no other. He comes into the game knowing that the defense is probably thinking they can take that backseat, but in all reality, they can't. Tyrese Haliburton called him the Great White Hope, and I think you can stick with that nickname. 12 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists, and 4 steals for McConnell. The first bench player in history to have 60-plus points, 25-plus assists, and 15-plus rebounds in the NBA Finals. Second, Obi Toppin. This guy could be a starter on an NBA team if he really, really wanted to, but he's a guy who's bought in. It's his second game with 20-plus points this postseason. It's his third game with 15-plus points in this NBA Finals. He's been on fire. He's heating up. Obi is a guy that they've relied on in some down moments to make some baskets. He got to his mid-range last night, which was a part of his game we hadn't seen very much, in addition to, obviously, the absurd athletic ability, being able to dunk on anyone who happens to, unfortunately, get in his way, and also being able to knock down spot-up threes. That's where Obi impacted the game, in my opinion, in 3 spots last night. He's the first bench player since 2007, Manu Ginobili, with at least 20 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 steals in an NBA Finals game. Quite an impressive one from Mr. Top. And 2, I thought it was a good impact from Aaron Nesmith. He's visible And on offense in the last couple games, he's been invisible. Hasn't been able to make the shots that we're known and that we're accustomed to seeing from him. I thought his plus minus was very telling of his performance. He had a 24 plus minus. He was in the positive, helping the Pacers get a victory. And honestly, the majority of the Pacers were positive in the plus minus category. The only ones who weren't that made an actual difference on the game were Benedict Mathurin in garbage time. He shot 5 threes, so he was negative. And James Johnson, who somehow in 2 minutes of gameplay found his way to two technicals and an ejection from the game. So very different for those two guys than the rest of the Pacers team in game six. I'm going to relate this Pacers game last night to charging your phone, because to have the phone, right, you need to have apps, and the role players were the apps. But you don't get to play the apps on your phone if the thing's not charged. And the two stars for the Pacers were the charge last night: Pascal Siakam and Tyrese Haliburton. We'll start with Siakam because, good Lord Almighty, that jam from Siakam on J-Dub was obscene. Like, someone get body bags, someone make posters, do all the things you need to do when there's a dunk that emphatic, and start the press. Start printing it. Get it going, because that dunk was absurd. That'll go down in history as one of my favorites for sure. Siakam, 16 points, 13 boards, 5 of which were offensive. Offered up a lot of chances for Pacers players to get second chance scoring opportunities. He was just a matchup problem. If you want to guard him inside with a guy like Chet, he'll take him outside, rely on that mid-range and that three-pointer. You put Hartenstein on him, force him off the block. Pascal Siakam's going to find a way to either back down and get to his hooks, to his fadeaways, or he's just going to get straight to the basket. So an absolute matchup problem for the Thunder last night. And then, of course, Tyrese Haliburton. So much being said about that calf injury heading into this game. Uncertainty. Who knows if he'll be good? Will he be out in the first quarter? We don't know. Ha, ha, ha. Tyrese Haliburton was back to being a hazard in the absolute best way. Haliburton's spirit was on full display in this one, and he was a threat. And he only played 23 minutes. Sure. It was the difference that he made in those 23 minutes that stuck out to me. He was plus 25 in the first half. The energy was back. He was an aggressor, which when he's an aggressor, the Pacers are miles better than when he's the unselfish, more point guard distributor than he is when maybe he's trying to get a basket. And when I say aggressive, I don't just mean making baskets. Aggressive meaning getting to a spot, finding a teammate, getting to this place to open up another guy, throw a lob, being able to drive and being such an offensive threat where it attracts a defense to come to you, finding your guys. And if they don't come, scoring the basketball, made threes. He looked like his normal self out there. And when he's playing aggressive like that, the Pacers are hard to beat. In my opinion, they're one of the best offensive playoff teams that we've seen. And there's stats to back that. They're the first team in NBA history to have 8 players score more than 200 points in a single postseason. 200 points, people. That's an absurd amount of points. I gave you the phone analogy. I gave you the McConnell stats. But what gave the Pacers the W was defense. Indiana was confidently frenetic on defense, especially in the paint. Look at the numbers for Oklahoma City Stars. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had 8 turnovers. J-Dub was minus 40, which is the worst plus minus he'd had in a playoff game in his career in general, the worst he had had. Pacers played Thunder defense on the Thunder. Anything that came into the lane, it was all hands on deck. If you look at the plays where Shai Gilgeous-Alexander drove and had contested missed shots, all of the eyes and the heads of Pacer defenders were turned on the driver. They were focused on the MVP trying to score the basketball. And the Pacers collapsing on the Thunder forced the Thunder to make silly mistakes, turnovers, loose balls, losing the basketball, taking dumb shots. And what that led to was the Pacers having open court opportunities, which if you've watched the Pacers at all for 5 seconds this season, you'll know the 3-point numbers, the field goal numbers, they're the best in the league. Pace, that's what they do. That's where the Pacers were able to make their dollar bills in this one. And when there's open floor opportunities, Pacers don't have to go against the historically good half-court defense of the Oklahoma City Thunder. That swarm of things, collapsing and playing Thunder defense on the Thunder, forcing turnovers and silly mistakes, and scoring in open court opportunities, that's what took all the will from Oklahoma City to believe they could win this game out. That energy transfer from defense to offense was huge. And McConnell being the culprit of that. They bullied OKC. They dared Oklahoma City's role players to beat them, which is similar to the game plan that they had in game three as well. You look at the turnover numbers, they're very similar. They've successfully implemented that game plan twice in this series. And I'm curious if they can do it again. Game three, Thunder had 19 turnovers. In game six, they had 21. It's a turnover fest when the Pacers are playing at the pace and with the intensity, the confidence that they did. And the stats in this one were like a good boss. They told no lies. Oklahoma City scored the fewest points they had in a game all season, not the playoffs, the entire season. And they're the best team in the Western Conference. This is arguably the best defensive game that had been played against the Thunder through 82 plus games. And like I mentioned, Jalen Williams went from scoring 40 points to having a negative 40 plus minus. Oklahoma City can't have that if they want to win. If they do want to win, they need to make more shots. That's just bottom line. And going into game seven in your own arena, I'm sure that confidence will be there. There's plenty of numbers, plenty of historical markings going into NBA Finals game sevens. This is the 20th one. There's been 19 7-game series in the NBA Finals in history, this being the 20th. The last one came in 2016. It feels like yesterday when LeBron James blocked Andre Iguodala and helped the Cleveland Cavaliers solidify the first ever 3-1 comeback series win in NBA history. Now, home teams. This is good numbers for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Home teams are 15-4 all time in the finals. The Pacers are 4-6 all time in game seven. The Thunder are 3-2 in game sevens. Simply put, the Pacers were hot. The Thunder were not. This series is going 7 games. Back to Oklahoma City for game 7 on Sunday night. I have no clue who's going to win. I think it's the biggest toss-up that we've seen in a playoff series in a while, but I want you guys to let me know in the comments who you think wins game 7 between the Indiana Pacers and the Oklahoma City Thunder.